Ferdinand Magellan. He was born into a wealthy family in Portugal in the spring of 1480. When he reached the age of 10, he enrolled in the Royal Navy School led by his uncle and took his first step into education. He spent his youth learning seamanship alongside Portuguese sailors. Ferdinand Magellan Adventures. It has survived thanks to the memoirs of the Portuguese Antonio Pigafetta, who accompanied his travels. Magellan made his first voyage in 1505, when he was only 25 years old. In this first role, he took Francisco de Almeida to India as Governor-General of Portugal. He was sent to Morocco in 1511 where he participated in the Battle of Azamor. He was seriously injured in his knee in this battle. He participated in battles in India and Morocco. He was injured after the fighting in Morocco. Later, he broke up with the Portuguese king. He fell out of favor and was soon dismissed from the Portuguese navy. He went to Spain in 1517. He was commissioned in the Spanish Navy by King Charles V. Besides maritime, he was also interested in geography. He always argued that if one travels in the west direction, the eastern countries can be reached. He even asked the Portuguese king of the time to help him realize his theory. By that time, the part of the American continent from Labrador to Rio de Plata had been discovered. Mace I believed that the continent would give a passage from the north and south. However, this request was not accepted. Following the acceptance of the same offer by King Charles V of Spain, Magellan sailed from Sanlúcar de Barrameda with 5 ships and 270 crew on 20 September 1519 and reached Rio de Janeiro on 13 December. Wanting to cross the rivers here, Magellan sailed south of Latin America when he realized that he could not find a pass. It started descending south along the shore. In 1520 he discovered the passage called Magellan. The fleet, which entered the Strait of Magellan, was able to exit this strait after great difficulties. So he crossed the Pacific Ocean in the northwest direction. Meanwhile, he struggled with the weather, hunger and the sea. Although there was a revolt on the ships, it was suppressed. Finally, Magellan, who could hardly cross the strait, found the waters of this new ocean calmer than the Atlantic, so he named it the Pacific. It was a difficult 98-day journey in the Pacific Ocean with hunger and boredom. The convoy, which landed in Fuan on the Mariana Islands in 1521, went to the Philippine Islands on 16 March. The dispute with the natives during his days in the Philippines turned into a clash. Magellan died on April 27, 1521, at the Battle of Mactan with the natives led by Lapu-Lapu. A wealthy tourist named Antonio Pigafetta, who paid the trip, witnessed the events that resulted in Magellan's death, and writes this in his memoirs. In the morning, 49 people jumped into the water that reached our waist and walked 2 arrows a distance until we reached the shore through the water. Our boats could not go further because of the rocks in the water. We continued, leaving 11 men behind to protect the boots. When we reached the shore, about 1,500 locals were grouped into 3 sections. When they saw us, they started screaming war. The men with rifles and archers fought for half an hour, but to no avail. Some who knew the captain attacked him and dropped his helmet from his head. A native threw a bamboo spear at his face, but the captain killed him immediately with his spear, leaving the pike in his body. Then he grabbed his sword, but he was able to pull it halfway because the bamboo was injured in the arm with the spear. Seeing this, the locals swarmed on him en masse. Someone hit his left leg with a machete, which caused the captain to fall face down. They immediately attacked him with bamboo and iron spears and machetes. Until he killed our light, our mirror, our helper, our true leader. We looked back many times to make sure we all got on the boats when they injured him. Then, leaving him dead behind, we were wounded, beaten, and pulled towards the boats that started to move as best we could. Later, the remnants of Magellan's crew continued their journey. On September 6, 1522, 18 people were left in the group, which returned to Spain. It was proved by traveling by sea that the Earth was round and the existence of the Pacific Ocean was revealed. Magellan asked in his will that the Malay translator, who was a slave, be set free. The translator, using the name Enrique, baptized as Henry the Black, was captured and sold in his homeland by Sumatran slave traders. Enrique is the first person who has traveled the world with many trips with Magellan. Entering his service on Magellan's first voyages to Malacca, Enrique was always by his side during the wars in Africa, when his owner fell out of favor in the presence of the king in Portugal and successfully re-sailed with his fleet. But he refused to free the ship's new captain, Enrique. Enrique managed to escape, mingling with some 30 dead sailors on May 1 with the help of Raja Humabon. Antonio Pigafetta was keeping notes on the language and was apparently able to keep in touch for the rest of the journey. Magellan's expedition is the first trip around the world and is the first voyage to connect the Atlas and Pacific Ocean across the strait in South America. Magellan's team encountered many animal species that were completely new to Europe. Some of these are llamas described as humble camels and penguins described as black geese whose feathers are not plucked but skinned. The Magellan Nebulae, the two closest galaxies, were discovered in the southern hemisphere. Thanks to their journey of 69,800 kilometers, the circumference of the world was also calculated. Thanks to this journey, the necessity of an international clock system emerged. Upon their return, they realized that despite the carefully kept logbook, their days did not match those left behind. But they did not have hours that could measure accurately enough to calculate the difference between the length of days. This fact about time caused great excitement. A special delegation was sent to the Pope to report this strange. Lapu-Lapu, who killed Magellan, is now considered a folk hero in the Philippines. As a duty of loyalty, the Filipinos named the capital of the Mactan State Island, Lapu-Lapu, and erected the statue of Lapu-Lapu there, almost as if reviving history. Filipinos visit this statue, take its photograph, and feel a sense of honor and heroism. In addition, local people believe that Lapu-Lapu is not dead, that his soul is still contained in a stone, and that his soul protects the island and its people. First European to see indigenous tribes in South America. Magellan saw the gigantic half-human race. It was the beings called Dagon that he saw. After this encounter, he took some Filipinos as slaves. As a European, he saw the indigenous people of the Philippines for the first time. He had professional scientists with him to identify the different animal species he encountered on his journey. After his death, leaving the Philippines by 2 ships, Magellan's men met the Portuguese who had arrived from the west when they reached the islands of today's Indonesia. It was then understood that the Earth was round. 16 months after Magellan's death, Victoria, one of her ships, managed to travel the world and return to Spain. Of the 300 sailors who sailed in 1522, only 4 managed to return to Spain and complete their voyage. 232 sailors, Spanish, Portuguese, French and British, lost their lives on a world tour with Magellan.